Okay, the next thing that we're going to see is how to run C++ code with the debugger, which is of course the one that is more important when you're developing files and not just compiling and running. And like I said, there are these two articles, the one with using MinGW for the Windows one, and the one which is for using Clang on Mac. And these two articles are very similar actually. They have a create hello world section, and explore Intellisense, and a build, and then a debug section, and they have the same steps here for the Mac as well. So I'll be following the Mac ones, while if you have one for Windows, you can follow the steps here. In fact, if you exactly follow the same steps that's written in this article, you will be able to get debugging on. I'm not going to follow these steps exactly one by one. I will just show it on the VS Code and explain to you also what I'm doing, so that you get a better understanding. So what they have done is they have taken this source code. So let's say, for example, I go with this particular source code. Okay, and with this they have said that whether or not the IntelliSense works, so you can check that out. So for example, if you want to control click on the vector, it shows the header file for that. If you start typing msg dot, it should have all the functions that exist inside that as well. Okay, so IntelliSense part is working, which is pretty fine. Okay, the next thing to do is, if you go to run, and you can select on start debugging, or run without debugging. So let's say if you select run without debugging, you will get an option like this. So for my case, I'm seeing C++, GBLLB. I think you might see the MinGW option. So if I select that, it asks what do I want to use to build this file with, and there is Clang++ and G++. These are the two things that's installed on my computer. You might see MinGW and G++. Make sure that you actually have installed MinGW or G++ already on your computer, and then restarted Visual Studio Code, so that it picks up the compilers available here. Okay, so I'm going to pick Clang++, for example. So if I do that, what will happen is I'll just let me remove the VS Code folder, do it again for a second. So I'll just run start without debugging, and with Clang++, what happens is a launch.json file gets created. Okay, and this launch.json file, there is a name for my task, which is build and debug active file, or type is cpp debug. Actually, there are a lot of types here, so the one that I want is the cpp debug one. And the program, the name of my program for Mac would be file directory name. That's the directory inside which my file is, / my file base name without any extension. For Windows, it would be .exe like this, because that's the name of the file that gets created. For Mac, the output file is created without an exe for both Mac and Linux. Okay, there's going to be arguments that I want to pass to my file when I want to run it, and the directory inside which I want to execute this command, and all of that stuff. When we have created this launch.json, you would have seen that there is a pre-launch task that has been created, which is build the active file. Now this task does not yet exist. So what will happen is that if you go to the debug tab, and you select Clang++ build and debug active file, as soon as you click on run, it would say that could not find the task Clang++ build active file. It could not find that because of course we have not built it yet. So you click on configure task here. Okay, and that would execute. So you can just write create task.json from template, and you can simply write others, and it creates a task like this. So the name of the task should be the pre-launch task, what is created here, this, and we can paste that. Okay, the type of the task is shell. The command here should basically be your G++ or C++, Clang++ directory. That's what your command should be. So it's defined properly here. When you go to the build hello world.cpp section, you would see that the task is defined here. Your command should be the path to your Clang compiler, and the path to my compiler is I can just see Clang. So my path is user bin Clang++. I will paste that. You should find out your path for your MinGW wherever it is installed, and then we have to pass some arguments. So what are my arguments? So to build it, I would be So how do I build this file? I do it with clang ++, and I pass hello world, and I pass the name of my file hello world.cpp, right? And that creates basically the hello world.cpp file. Okay, so these are the arguments that they have defined. So if you take all of these arguments here, which I'll just paste it across the entire thing. So this makes clang ++, it is going to use standard C++ 17, and it will use the libc++ as the standard library, and then it will use this file as the source, and output it will do with file directory name / file base name, no extension. So basically it will output if my file name is hello world.cpp, it will output to just hello world without cpp. The same one for Windows. If you click on build hello world, you would see the task that is shown here. For the Windows one, it has set it up as .exe. For the Windows one, the paths are also with double forward /. That's the way you put paths in Windows. So take care of doing the same thing when you're doing on Windows. Okay. Apart from that, we should set CWD options here, which is basically to tell that from which directory this command is supposed to be run. And there's this problem matcher as well, so I'll just put these things and I will explain them one by one. So okay, so this options means when you start typing options, it will tell you additional command options. What is the CWD option? The current working directory the script will be executed from. So our script needs to be executed from our current folder. The problem matcher is basically which kind of tasks should this particular command be run for. So I want these to run only for GCC kind of tasks. And what group will this fall on? This is a build step task. So you can group tasks as build tasks or run tasks or debug tasks. So this is a build task. So you set up a group and this is your default build task. So you have this setup, basically your label, the type, the command and the arguments, and all of this you have set up. And then in launch.json you have said that before launching you need to build the file. So first the build step will happen, the task will take place, and then in launch.json the actual file will get launched using cpp debug. Okay. And now once all of that is done, what you can do is go to hello world.cpp and go to run and click on run start debugging. Put a breakpoint somewhere here and you can go and do start debugging here. Okay. So there you go, the file has started running and we are at the debug breakpoint right now. And at the debug breakpoint you can see the message array contains these 6 items: hello, C++, world, etc. and the current word is basically hello right now. We can keep skipping on through the things, or we can go to the next breakpoint and the word here will keep changing. So you can basically skip through the program line by line, and if you want to, you can stop the program running as well. So this way you can basically debug your C++ programs. You need to make sure that you have got a task.json and a launch.json. The task.json contains the steps for building the file, and for building it we are using clang ++. We are passing these arguments using standard C++ 17. If you are using standard C++ 14, you can change that. If you are using C++ 11, you can change that as well here. If you are using a different stdlib or not using one, you can change that here. If the output file you want it to be a different name, you can change that as well here. Okay, and give this label, give the task a label, and then we create a launch.json. So the launch.json is going to have a name, and it would have a launch request, and what file will it run? It will run the file that has been created in task.json. Okay, so if it is Windows, then again this one will have a .exe here, and this one would have a .exe here as well. Okay, so keep those in mind. And finally You can set external console to true or false. In that case, whether it is running in an external command prompt or whether it will run in the terminal of your VS Code, that you can toggle from here. And the pre-launch task will tell the launch which build task has to be run before it. So this is a very generic one. So if you have more than one file, like if you have this hello.cpp file, it would run for that as well. So you can start with run without debugging this task as well, and it would work with this program as well. It would work with all the programs, so there's not going to be any difference in that. Okay, so that's how it will work. So it would work for any basically CPP file, whichever one is open on your current screen. Go to run and start with debugging also. If you just want to run and don't want to debug, then as I said, code runner is there. Last video I had just mentioned, you can click on code runner, it will run. But if you want to debug, then using this method is better. You can set up a breakpoint and you can debug your files. Okay, so I hope that helps you set up your C++ projects as well.